So my name is Susanne Diggs-Wilborn. I am the Vice President for College Success at Achieve Atlanta. And I'm taking a little bit different approach to this topic today. So all of my partners are on the college side, on the post-secondary side. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we have done, what we're trying to make sure that our students persist and complete, especially since COVID, since March of 2020. So, you know, like if you have to leave now, I'll cut to the end, beginning of the month. This is how we do it, right? This is partnership with cross-sector collaboration. We do everything. We're 7 years old. We have doubled our size since COVID. So we have 18 people in our organization. And there's no way we would be able to do that without partners. So if I talk about what we do, there's a through line a through line from what we do with our partners. So I'm going to be talking about the through line. And I'm going to start with an activity. And the activity was going to be a little bit different because we were going to have tables, but that didn't happen. So that's why they were on the seat. So it's called Similes to See. And there's actually, I don't even know how loud this song is in the background because I had it all planned out. It's just not working. It was a song called See Me. I don't know if you, it was written, I think in like April of 2020 by an acoustic guitar artist named Emily King. And so it's all about being seen. So you might hear that in the background, it might be kind of loud. But you can't choose an object, but some of you may have one. So I want you to look at that object that you have. And it's random, like literally it's really random. Some of you have a tea bag, you might have a Post-it, right? Yeah. And you know, share. It's like school, right? So share your object with your partner, even if you're just looking at it. And I'm not even going to give you a minute. I'm not even going to give you a minute. And so we're doing this in sort of a speed dating kind of way. But I want you to answer this question or complete the sentence. My approach to advising and coaching is like this, whatever your object is, because. Remember similes, like? So, like that object, how? We're not even going to take this amount of time, but I love the energy. So I'm just going to popcorn for me and tell me what your answers were. So tell me what your object was, but also what the simile is. So anybody?
I'll start. I'm Tashana with Big Brothers Big Sisters. My partner is Aaron with Arizona State University. We had a cleansing wipe, and so we said that our approach to advising and coaching is like this cleansing wipe, because when we meet with students for the first time, we ask them to wipe their slate clean. Whatever your experiences were in the past, scratch that. We're starting over brand new. So yeah.
Love it. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Well, okay. Here and then here.
We got a pill pouch. I don't directly advise students, but if I were to do so, it would be like this, because I would give them a chill pill.
Think about it.
Right. Chill, let's think about your post-secondary life.
Absolutely. Okay.
We had something similar to yours, but we were talking about coaching staff. So like, if something doesn't go well, okay, let's just take in what you learned from it, what we did, clean up, you know, like we're starting over,
right.
You know, like, but we'll take those lessons learned. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The clip was, it's like advising and coaching because it's a little tension and pressure.
You are so creative. Okay, you and the Post-its. Could you keep showing me?
My name's Michael from Baltimore. I'm sorry, I would say the Baltimore. So it said advising and coaching is like Post-it notes. They're consistent. They can be done anywhere. They're bright and extend over a period of time.
Oh, look at you all. All right. In the afternoon, after lunch. So, now we're going to go. My mother was an English teacher, sorry y'all. But we're similes to metaphors. So I'm asking you, what did you have to do to complete this exercise? Who did you need to be in the moment as you were looking at these objects to complete this exercise? And you just yell it out. What did you have to do? Who did you have to be?
I'm not an advisor, so I had to put myself in the mind of an advisor.
Okay. So you had to connect in the moment. You had to tune in. Okay.
I'm thinking about the advisor's end user, the student. The family.
Yeah. So switching your focus, right? So there's two audiences, two target audiences. Okay. Anybody else?
I think we're all just like, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say drawing both prior knowledge as well as prior experience. So I was also thinking about what if because I don't serve in that role, and so it is taking that information, but also reflecting back like when I was a student, what was that experience like, and how relevant is that today?
So empathy, right? So do something that will love it. It was someone.
On target, I was gonna say reflections.
Reflections, right? So all of those things, who you have to be, what we have to do to actually get into that moment and participate in that exercise, is what we have to do with our students to build trust. So those feelings, that state of mind, that desire to connect with your partner, that's the same journey we have to take as coaches, advisors, with students, especially now. And it seems like those are table stakes, right? Of course, that's what we do. But we have heard from students, and I'll get into the data in a second, but we have heard from students all over the place that this is not what's happening at all. There is a complete disconnect. So I'll share with you some data. I'll tell you what it is. You guys all know the elephant, right? And you have the blind men that are touching the elephant, and everybody, okay, so everybody touches something different. One touches the tail and says it's a snake. One touches the ears and says, oh, it's a fan. All blind men, all touching different parts of the elephant, but they think it's something else because they don't see the whole, right? I know, it was really cool, it was like 30 seconds too. But it was a sociologist who actually was doing this, and he said, you know, as sociologists, we would do so much better if we saw the whole. If we took our time and took a moment to pause to really figure out what it is we're looking at and how to solve for it. And so all I was going to say here is that we just need to, if you substitute advising and coaching in that, it's the same thing, taking our time. So who are we? I'm starting in the middle. But why are we interested in this? Who's Achieve Atlanta and why are we interested in this? So we are obviously in Atlanta. We work specifically with Atlanta Public School students, all 17 high schools. And our primary mission is really to, you see it, access the board and earn a post-secondary credential, but more importantly, increase the social mobility of our students. If you all have seen all the social mobility, his social mobility information. Thank you for validating. So Raj Shetty's research, and he talks about some of the cities in the United States having less social mobility than many developing countries. Atlanta's one of them. So 4%. 4% of the children who are born into poverty in Atlanta have a chance of making it to the top quartile. 4%. So a lot of what we do is about that. It's all about that social mobility. So who do we serve, right? Right now, we have over this now, because this year we have 700 scholars that we're serving through May, and our application is out now. That's just a little bit of our data. 97% are Black and brown. About 25% of our students go to HBCUs. About 22% of our students go to school out of the state of Georgia. That is up since the pandemic. It used to be about 13 to 17%. About 20% go for an associate's degree, and about 2% go to technical colleges. So we count, so that post-secondary credential is a certificate, a diploma, whatever. So that's who we are. How we work and how we scale, because again, there are 18 of us. And so on the college access side, our only partners, our sourcing, our pipeline are the Atlanta Public Schools. In Atlanta Public Schools, we pay for the College Advising Corps, at least one College Advising Corps advisor to be at every high school. Some of them have 3. And again, that's in addition to the counselor. So they're responsible for creating that college-going culture. They are responsible for helping students fill out the FAFSA, fill out applications, and they have a dashboard that says, how many students have I gotten to submit at least 3 college applications? And there's a lot behind this, I don't have time to go into it. But we have also had a Gates grant to create a match and fit tool. And so I'll give you our website, we have a video on it, thanks to Gates. So we were able to create something to codify that. So that's how we work in the high schools. Corinne Schooley is our VP of College Access, and I work with her because we then transition over the summer to me. And so we have a scholarship, it is $5,000 a year. It's a the only needs-based scholarship in the state of Georgia. It's $5,000 a year for 4 years. You can use it within 5 years because we don't want to penalize students who have to stop out. Students who are going to 2-year or technical school, they get $2,500 a year for 2 years. That can be used within a 3-year period. And those are our donors and the people who work with us, the Community Foundation of Greater Atlanta, to help us administer it. And then on my side, I have 10 post-secondary partners, colleges and universities, and 3 nonprofit partners that help with the coaching and advising. That also includes, in our partnerships with our MOUs and data sharing agreements, we make sure that we have college ambassadors or peer ambassadors, so they're on campus, and form those relationships and create a cohort on those 10 campuses. We provide coaching to all of our scholars who are in the state of Georgia, whether or not they go to a partner school or not. If they go to a partner school, we have an entire infrastructure at those institutions to help our students. If they go to a non-partner school, we have nonprofit partners that provide that coaching. Again, the through line though is what we're talking about, how we do it. And we all agree to how we do it. So, one of the things we have, and you really can't see this, oh man, I got bigger. But this is part of the data that we collect. Every year, every time a student renews their scholarship, their captive audience, because before we tie our data request to renewal, who can guess how many students actually fill that out? I mean, we thought we were doing great because, from a research standpoint, 1/3 response rate, you're like, great, we got 30% students. We now have 98% of our students fill this out because they have to navigate through that to be able to get to their renewal application. Now, what we're working through now is that they just don't click on everything, I gotta click through to get through. That's a separate problem, but what this says, we ask about sense of belonging, we ask about resilience. We use valid and reliable instruments that were created by other individuals but validated on college populations. And we collect a growth mindset, whether or not they're homeless or in foster care, if they have kids, type of transportation, if they're planning on living on campus. So this is a sample, but you really can't see, it's kind of blurry. But they have, we do a regression analysis every year with all of our data to see what our persistence likelihood would be for those students. And so far, it has been very, very valid. It's been extremely valid. And so what we ask, because we have a relationship with Atlanta Public Schools and their data, we have everything. That's the only time we're the most powerful, because we have the high school data and we're giving it to the colleges. So we look at their GPA, we look at their behavior scores, attendance, right? So all of that, we ask the CAC advisors, how likely is a student to persist if they go to college? And so we take all of that and we come up with a rating, and that's how we find who our sort of high priority students are, who needs to be touched more than once before the midterms, right? And that was a painful, painful process and lesson to learn. When we weren't able to get to those students in time. There's a free sort of area for them to put in things that they think we should know and we didn't ask about. So we go through all of that data and the red flags. We either talk to the students ourselves. I'm not an advisor or a coach. I'm a psychologist by training. I gave up my clinical license a long time ago. I'm a parent, so all those things sort of come into play when I'm like, baby, what are you doing? What's happening? Like, what possessed you to do X, Y, and Z? Not in those words, but that's the feeling, right? How many hours a week do they study? We have, the social support one is really interesting because we ask, is there somebody that you can count on consistently? And they give us the initials so in case they forget who they put on there. And how satisfied are you with the support that you're getting? So we can see on this little thing from very satisfied to very dissatisfied, whether or not this student has somebody, anybody that cares about them. And this is a one-pager that all of our coaches get. So how many of you would love to have just all of that data right in your face when you get ready to see a student? So that's one of the things that we learned has been very helpful.
How many coaches do you have?
You
have 7,000 students.
we have, so it depends, so, right, so if they're at, the majority of our students go to school in the state of Georgia.
Yeah.
They are all part, so our partners are, I don't know, our partners are Atlanta Technical College, that's the only technical college in our system, Oglethorpe University, which is one of our only private schools, Spelman College, my alma mater. Yes. Georgia State University and Perimeter College, Clayton State, Kennesaw State, Georgia Tech, University of West Georgia, Albany State, and Savannah State. So the majority of our students go to those partner institutions.
And then they do the advising.
Right, so we have a corresponding structure.
Oh, got you, okay.
So the presidents of the university have a relationship with myself and my executive director. I have a partner liaison that in our MOU I say has to be a strategic partner. They have to be able to remove barriers. They can't be just a person, and that looks different. Some campuses is the provost, some campuses is the vice president of college success. It just depends.
Okay.
That's my partner. My director of post-secondary success partners with our, what we call our coordinating advisor, right? That's the person who looks across all those different departments. Is it supplemental learning? Is it tutoring? Is it college, the Office of Student Success? Whatever that is. So they coordinate all of that, and then we have our frontline advisors. A lot of them are grad students that are hired in. So that's how. And then when they call us about the scholarship, it's us.
Right.
So you see the data here, and no surprise, GPA is going to be the biggest predictor of whether or not they're going to be successful. A couple of nuggets that are really interesting. We found out that students who work more than 20 hours a week are less likely to make it to their third year in college. We also found that students who are involved on campus less than 6 hours a week are less likely to persist to their fourth year in college. So that's information we know. We fed it back, we continue to feed it back to our high school partners, and they're looking at ways to, do more with that. But we need to look forward, right? What are we going to do next? How do we use this data to move forward? And then the pandemic hit. So this is stuff that we were already doing, and they were like, oh my God, like our students started stopping out. Like, what is happening? We knew what was happening, but we didn't know what was happening. And so we started interviewing them and our partners. And we found these first two, the first one and the last one, which are in gray, are those things that we always heard, but they ramped up during COVID. And the ones in the orange are new. That was new during COVID. And so you see just a couple of select quotes here about what was happening with these students. So then we dug a little deeper. And we said, no, I'm almost done. 5 minutes. I'm going real fast. So we dug a little deeper, and our students told us we just want to be seen. Well, what does that mean? And so for us, what we figured out after having all these conversations was this model. We have to actively listen. No distractions. We are completely honed in on that student. Because if you're honed in on that student, even if it's 3 minutes, it saves you the 30-minute conversation that does take up everyone's time. The students and yours, and you probably won't lost them, in the process. So actively listening, check and track. This is so we can see the whole elephant, right? Actively track, check in and make sure that you're tracking with what they're saying. Observe, what else is going on? How are they dressed? Are they making eye contact? What's their body language? What else is going on that's telling you something else, right? And then determine your role. Are you there to be a sounding board? Are you there to give them advice? What is it that they're looking for? Are you there to broker a resource, right? So that's the through line for for us and our partners. And these are just some of the comments, some of the thoughts that they said. These are the things that they want. They said, I need to be with a group of people who also have the same issues that I do. Direct me to those people because I know they have a vested interest in helping me, right? My professors and advisors, don't talk to me, don't put me in a group, don't just pawn me off. Listen to me first, and then we can talk about where I need to go or what I need to do. The human face-to-face, we're all sick of Zoom, right? Everybody's sick of Zoom, Teams, you name it. So students were like, I need to see somebody. I don't care if it's behind plexiglass and you have on a hazmat suit. I need to see someone. And so those were the kinds of things they said, this is how you can see us. This is how we can be seen. So a couple of things I wanted to share with you. So the best practices. Clayton State, one of our partners, when students started coming back, they couldn't afford meal plans, right? They couldn't afford to stay on campus, but couldn't afford meal plans. So we had a lot of students who were hungry. Who wants to tell someone that they're hungry? How vulnerable is that? And so Clayton State created these QR codes all around campus. They asked students to donate their dining dollars that they weren't using. And there was a bank. So students could scan that QR code and immediately get credit on their account to go get a meal. At 5 scans, it triggered, okay, this is a bigger issue. You need to come see us. But at least there was a stopgap there. Georgia State, who you know is just amazing in terms of data, right? They collect all kinds of data, they just do amazing work. They started seeing the students that worked, who had taken on jobs during the pandemic, were now going online. They did better in person, but they were online because online was easier to flex around your schedule than your work schedule. And their families had already started counting on that income, so they couldn't quit their job. And so Georgia State had a special pool of advisors that said, hey, we see that you are online, you used to be in person, can you come in and let's do a plan. It's not about the job you have now, it's about a career. So let's get you through school, let's talk about the barriers and let's figure it out. Our 2 nonprofit partners, Beyond 12 and EduTech, we looked at our students who had been engaged in spring of 2021. They were engaged in coaching and they stopped out in the fall. What happened? So we put those students back on their caseload and said, hey, the incentive, the goal as our partner is that you get at least 50% of those students re-enrolled for the fall. And they're on track for 12 and 17% already, respectively, have re-enrolled. And so that's sort of another thing that we're doing. And then the last thing, what we are doing at Achieve Atlanta is we created this Pathway to Persistence website. And this was everything we heard from students, everything we heard from partners. And you can actually go and look at it. We did TikToks. Had to reach our audience. My son is actually I have a son that's graduated from Morehouse this year. And another. Oh, we'll talk. So that was 2019, 2022, and my husband's in Morehouse. We'll talk. So we looked at this and said, what is it that students need? So there are templates for text for how to reach out to your professor. I don't know how to start an email, right? There's a template for it. I don't know how to start a study group. There's a template for it. There are TikToks on there, Instagram, but we also created this with our partners by year. What do you need to be doing every year? And it's a checkbox. But our partners, this year what we're doing is we're actually bringing that back out because we lost it during the pandemic. People weren't really paying, students weren't seeing it, partners weren't looking at it, we weren't looking at it. We were just trying to survive. And so we know it works. So going back to basics with that. But lots of resources and tools, feel free to go on there. How to do an informational interview, if you want to decide what you want to do when you grow up. All of us kind of can use that. So all of that's on that website. So I'm done because she's in the back. So thank you.